Hi guys, welcome back to the Spurred on podcast, and this is the match preview for the huge Tottenham Hotspur versus Everton game in a couple of days' time. The reason I say it's huge, not just because every Premier League game is huge, especially at home where we're trying to get back our good form, having lost a few in a row and then getting that vital 4-1 win against Newcastle, but also because we have such problems in the squad. Obviously there's the long-termies that we know about, Mickey van der Ven, James Maddison and the rest. But also now, a huge test as Destiny Udogie is out, suspended for one game. And of course, we are also missing the suspended Yves Bissouma, who unfortunately got himself sent off with a rash tackle in our previous game at Nottingham Forest. So how are Tottenham going to react? That is the question. Everton on a brilliant run of form, which I'll go into in a little while. But it's going to be a tight game. We have an amazing record against Everton. We tend to always do really well against them, and I do wonder whether that might be in their minds somewhat. You know how I always talk about how scripts feel like they're written. If I was an Everton fan going to Spurs, despite the great run that we're on, I'd be apprehensive, to say the least, because it always seems like no matter how well Everton are doing or what their form is, we always seem to kind of really pull the rug out from underneath them and really stick it to them, frankly. I remember the 6-2 away at Goodison Park. I remember when Dele Alli came back with Everton and we did them 5 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium just a year or two ago. I was actually at that game. It was an unbelievable atmosphere, and when Dele came on, we were actually kind of cheering for him, and it was almost as if he was playing for Spurs. It was a really incredible moment. Anyway, let me go into it, but before I do, thank you again for all of your support, honestly, and your comments. It's amazing. Please do go over, if you're not listening on the podcast platform, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do come over wherever you listen to your podcast, search for the Spurred On podcast and give me a follow or a subscribe and drop me a comment on Apple Podcasts and a rating. That would be so helpful to me. Thank you so much. And vice versa, if you are listening every day on the Spurred On podcast on the podcast platforms, come over to YouTube, youtube.com/@BarnabySlater_. Come and give me a subscribe. Press that bell button. Drop me a comment and a like. I'm trying to get back to all of the comments. Thank you so much for all of them. Really appreciating them. But let's get into this Everton game. I'm going to start by telling you their last Premier League away results, because away form when they're coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is key. And to be honest, when I looked these up, I was absolutely shocked. Sean Dyche has been doing an unbelievable job. We can't not mention the 10-point deduction that they've got. It seems to have kind of spurred on the club, but their away form was already incredible. So going from most recent backwards, their away form is this: 2-0 win at Burnley, 1-0 win at Forest, 3-2 win at Palace, great result. 1-0 win away at West Ham. I imagine that was a real battle of the kind of defensive play, direct ball, Moyes ball against Dyche ball, but a great victory at West Ham. 3-1 win at Brentford, as we know from the opening day, very difficult to go there and get a good result. Then they drew 2-2 at Sheffield United. Before that, that was when they were on their kind of poor start, where they lost their first few games. They got a draw at Sheffield United. And then the one before that, the last time they lost away in the Premier League was at Villa Park, 4-0. So what are we looking at there? 3, 4, 5 wins away on the spin as they come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That is form not to be sniffed at and shows how they've really galvanised around the manager and around the club since that 10-point deduction. The fans obviously all chanting and putting banners up about corruption. I personally think that's a bit strong. If any Everton fans are here, please do get in the comments and let me know your thoughts on that kind of corruption angle. For me, I spoke to an Everton fan friend of mine. I said, what is it about the corruption you're talking about? What they're actually talking about is the fact that their one charge of financial irregularity has been dealt with so quickly when Manchester City's 115 charges haven't been. But it's purely a case of kind of mathematics, really, as well as the ability of Manchester City and their untold wealth and riches from being run and sport washed by a state. Their ability to wrap it in legal red tape and get the best lawyers around to question every little decision before that goes to trial. The rumours are that's going to go to trial and the investigation kind of back end of next year. So yes, that is a long way away, but that's not really corruption to me. That's just the reality that Manchester City have cheated so badly, allegedly, that it takes that long for the investigation to be fully dealt with. So, I don't know, if you're an Everton fan and you've stumbled across this video, let me know in the comments about that kind of corruption angle. I'm not sure corruption is quite right. I don't think that's reality. And obviously there are a lot of fans on Twitter and everywhere at the moment claiming corruption against referees for their club. There are even Spurs fans going in saying, showing screen grabs of different fouls from around the league and saying Romero would get sent off for that and stuff. I think it's a little bit too much, guys. Let's be realistic about this stuff. The referees are not getting together and saying, how can we be corrupt against Tottenham Hotspur? And in the same way, I don't think the Premier League are really doing anything than giving Everton the punishment that they deserve. And I have looked into it. I know Everton fans may be angry at me saying that, but the reality is Everton were trying to get away. So the rule is you're not allowed to be in debt more than £105 million after across a 3-season period. Everton were trying to get away with some figures by claiming that it was, fair when it really wasn't. And actually, even though I think the final figure was only maybe 130 million or 140 million, they really were about 300 million over what they were supposed to be, and they tried to kind of claim back lots of stuff. But anyway, nothing against Everton. Good traditional football club, tried to do things the right way, had an owner who threw money in there over the last few years, didn't do it wisely, and as a result, they got themselves in trouble. I would say as a Spurs fan, a lot of the Spurs fan base, anti-Daniel Levy, should be spending more money, should be doing this, should be doing that when it comes to financials. I think you look at an Everton, you look at a Chelsea, how they've done it over the last few years, money isn't always the answer. I'm not saying I wouldn't like Levy to push the boat out, but where the players aren't there to buy at that top money level, you can't just be spending it on players who aren't going to push you to the next level. And I think, to be honest, I know it's a controversial viewpoint, but I think Levy has done a good job at Tottenham Hotspur in general. And in reality, I've probably said this before, but when he looks at the money he spent on strikers down the years, going back, Postiga, Vincent Janssen, Soldado, we haven't had a successful striker who we've spent big money on. So, of course, he's going to be wary about going up to £100 million, which is what you need to pay for a kind of, I was going to say elite level striker, but really you're looking at more, 120 million for an elite level striker, but for a striker who may not be guaranteed. Interesting though, obviously even Tony is coming up on the transfer radar at Spurs and Chelsea and Arsenal. He has proven it in the Premier League. I think he does have the personality for it. So if we were going to look for someone, it would be him. But first of all, Richarlison's on a good run, so let's see how he does. And of course, playing against his former club today. Okay, in terms of danger men for Everton, sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent there. I think out wide, Jack Harrison and Dwight McNeil, huge danger men. They like to get the ball out there, get their crosses in, and both those wide players follow in crosses from the other side, and so are dangers at the back stick, but also, obviously, in the box. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, assuming he's fit, he's put a run of games together over the last month or so, and if not, even Beto, who comes in for him, is good in the air as well. So that is a big threat for Everton. Obviously, set pieces, they're a huge team. James Tarkowski, Jared Branthwaite, Michael Keane, if he's playing, if they play 3 centre-backs, which I think realistically, they'll look at what West Ham did when they came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and say, well, maybe we should play 3 at the back as well. And then obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Onana and Beto, if he's on the pitch, all big guys. So corners and free kicks, we've got to try and give away as few as possible, especially those deep free kicks that we've really stuttered from and conceded goals from over the last couple of months. We need to make sure we're not getting them in because the delivery and the danger that they cause from attacking set pieces will be high. Obviously, it's a Sean Dyche team. He's not afraid to play direct at all. I think they'll try and West Ham us. Doucouré has been doing really well for them in a kind of more advanced role for midfield. He is a doubt after the Carabao Cup game in the week against Fulham. He is a doubt for the game. I think that would be good for Spurs if he wasn't able to play because he's a big physical menace and he has an engine. He runs for days. So on to Spurs' stuff. Obviously, as I mentioned, difficult decisions for Big Ange. Who comes in for Destiny? Emerson Royale would be the kind of classic easy decision. He did that against Wolves away, but he did not play well and we really stuttered on the ball as a result, which makes me wonder, just a thought, let me know in the comments what you think, will he take a risk and maybe play one of Pierre or Oliver Skip at left back, that inverted left back, so that he's playing really most of the time because we're at home and we'll have the ball in central midfield, and then, against, let's say, Jack Harrison on the right, he just has to try and stop the crosses when we're defending. It could be something he might try and do. There's no evidence to suggest that he will. It's just something that I would think about, just because Royale is so kind of not good in that left-back position, specifically when he's inverting in central midfield. Another option is, could he play Pedro Porro at the left? because he's more comfortable on the ball, and Royale in his natural position on the right, so he's more comfortable when inverting as well. Just a thought. Let me know what you guys think. I think this is the reality because Ben Davies is too important at left centre-back. We can't move him out to left-back for this game. We've just got no one who comes in at the centre to do that. Giovanni Lo Celso is a doubt. That is unfortunate, a muscle strain. We really needed him during these games, I think, and it's a shame again that he's unable to put a run of games together. Brennan Johnson obviously cut his head against Forest. Rumours are he will be fit, so that shouldn't really make too many changes in terms of our forward play. Big matter is Everton did play a full-strength team against Fulham in that Carabao Cup quarter-final Tuesday night. It went all the way to 90 minutes. I was gutted for the first time that they've taken extra time away from the Carabao Cup now because I was like, that would be great. They lost on penalties in the end. Not sure how much that'll affect, in reality, their confidence going into a Premier League game. Like I said, they've been on a great run away from home, but they are, they've got more minutes in the legs than us over the last week, so that might be something. Finally, this is my team that I'm going to say that Ange is going to go with. Vicario, Pedro Porro. Royale, I think, maybe will come left back. He'll play it quite easy, as in Ange will play it quite simple and hope that Royale is better on the ball than he was in that Wolves game because we'll be at home and we'll have more of the ball. Ben Davies, Christian Romero. Then I'm just going to say Pierre or Skip in that Basuma role because I'm not sure what he's going to go with. Usually I would say Pierre, but I do wonder whether Pierre has kicked up a fuss a bit and said he wants to leave in January, and that's why Skip came on when Basuma went off when we had to make our first substitution against Nottingham Forest. So Pierre or Skip. It'll be interesting to see who he goes with there. Then Sarr and Deki Kulusevski in that little 8-10 role that I love him in now. And then Son on the left, Rishi up front against his former team. Let's have another goal from you, Rishi, to keep your run going. And Brennan Johnson on the right. My prediction, 3-2 to Tottenham Hotspur. High scoring game. Can't see us keeping a clean sheet with the ball kind of barraging up against our back four from set pieces and direct balls, but hopefully we'll have enough. We can't be as unlucky as we were against West Ham, and I'm not sure that Everton can be as lucky as West Ham were, but I think they will play a similar style. Guys, let me know what you think. Once again, thank you so much for support. Do press that subscribe or follow button wherever you're listening or watching, and most importantly, come on you Spurs.